Hi Aspen Nation, I'm Anahita Cameron, Chief Human Resources Officer, and today I want to talk about your journey with Aspen. We always say Aspen Dental is more than dentistry. It's about being part of a community that changes lives every single day. And it's about supporting you with development opportunities to prepare you for the next step in your career. With our incredible growth, we have so many amazing opportunities across Aspen. And we want to ensure we empower you to build the rewarding career you want. As I've traveled around the country, I've heard a lot of great examples of team members that have grown into their current roles, which is super inspiring. That said, I also hear a lot of team members saying, I'm not aware of what I need to do to advance my career. I don't know what resources are available, and I'm not sure who I should speak to. It's simple. Raise your hand. You may have heard us talk about it over the years. It all starts with letting your leaders know that you want more responsibility, want to learn new skills, want to become a better leader, that you want to take the next step in your career. Joining me to talk about how to grow your career is someone most of you know very well, Senior Vice President of Field Operations, Lori Deanna. There's nobody who embodies the idea of taking charge of your career journey more than Lori. Lori has been with Aspen before there was even an Aspen, about 30 years, right, Lori?
I can't believe it, but yes, that's true, Anahita.
She's held virtually every role in an Aspen Dental office and in the field organization. If I understand correctly, you started out as a PSR?
Part-time PSR.
Part-time?
Yes.
Wow, okay.
So I was actually planning on going to dental school. That's what I thought, that's where my career was going to end up. And I was lucky enough to attend a university that was right around the corner from one of our Aspen sites. And so I decided before I went through 8 years of school and a lot of money that I would get my foot in the door and see what it was like from the inside. So I was lucky enough to get a job as a part-time PSR because they were looking for full-time. I couldn't offer full-time. They were looking for experience. I didn't have experience, but they took a bet on me because of my desire to learn more about dentistry. So I felt very lucky, and the team was fantastic. So they knew that I had this interest, and so they encouraged me to get immersed on the dental assisting side of the house, which was great because then I saw all the clinical aspects of a dental office, which was really great. And from there, I became an office manager, and then I became regional manager as we started to expand into our de novo offices in Connecticut. But then I got the itch again, and I thought dental school, I think, is where my heart is. So I decided to go back and get a second bachelor's degree in dental hygiene. Came back and practiced for 2 years, and it was at that moment that I realized that I'm supposed to be on this side of the house. So I decided that that wasn't in the cards for me. I really wanted to get back on the business side. And so I came back as Director of Operations for Western New England, expand into Eastern New England as Senior Director, then Vice President of Operations, and now Senior Vice President of Operations overseeing all 900 plus locations.
What an incredible journey.
Thank you.
Obviously, your performance led to increasing roles of responsibility to where you've become a senior leader in the organization. But you also had an insatiable desire to learn, and you raised your hand, you took those opportunities. What advice would you have to someone who wants to raise their hand?
I think you got to believe in yourself to become who you want to become. And sometimes that's going to mean you're going to need to push yourself, and other times that means that leaders are going to have to push you along. You got to keep your eyes wide open for the opportunities that are around you, and don't be afraid to ask questions. I think the most important piece is to have that two-way communication with your leader to let them know where you want to go and what you want to do. And sometimes you may not know, but they can help you out with that conversation. That would be, I think that's key. The other piece is this natural curiosity of wanting to develop yourself. And so it's not just about what goes on in the office and how can I get to the next level. It's about how do I become a better leader? What's important for me as I continue down a career path, either here or wherever I go? How do I build myself up? And that was always something that was really important to me. And then I would say, I don't know if you know, but I am a little competitive. So that was a big part of it too. I wanted to make sure that I was always striving to be the best that I could be. And the center of all of that was, how could we be the best team for the patients, the best team for the doctors, and individually, what was my contribution in all of that?
That's great. I think a lot of times when I hear people talking about growth, they only think about promotions and the next level, which is absolutely important, right? And we all aspire to that. But I think it's also important to say that sometimes it's about the development and the learning and the journey, right? And sometimes it's not a straight path, it's a zigzag to get there.
Yeah, and when I look back now at those zigzag points in my life, they were some of the most, I think, the biggest awakenings that I had, because I wasn't chasing something.
Right.
I was just trying to learn more. And when you look back at that and you realize all of the things now that you have in your toolbox, it just makes you a really strong leader. And it makes you, I think, better equipped to have better conversations across the organization.
So Lori, in your path to development, what were the things that were most helpful to you as you were growing?
I think I always had a genuine curiosity to want to do more. I'm definitely competitive, so that leads me to want to try to do more at all times and do it the right way and the best way. But I think there were times in my career where I wasn't even completely clear on what that might be. So there were times where I was driving my career. There were other times where I was getting a little bit of a nudge to think about things differently or consider alternatives that maybe I hadn't thought about in the past. So I think a lot of it was a drive from me. And I think a lot of it was the support from the leaders that I was surrounded with. And having a mentor in the organization, I think, is really important too, to help you on your career journey, because it allows you to have someone to talk to that you could be more vulnerable with than you might be with your leaders or your supervisor. So I was lucky enough to be surrounded by a number of those folks, and I made sure I plussed out those relationships, but they were extremely helpful along the way.
So on your growth journey, were there specific resources that you found most helpful, whether that was within the organization or things that you drew upon externally? Now, obviously you went to school for hygienists and other things, but what are the resources that you utilized?
So you need to have a relationship formed with somebody that maybe isn't your direct supervisor, so you could be vulnerable and have those conversations. So I was lucky enough to have a number of those folks in my life, so that I would say was probably number one. The other big part for me was to have a leader that took a bet on me to give me some outside support, whether it was an outside coach or classes that I could take. I would go to him and express an interest in going to these classes, but it was never no. He knew that this investment made sense, and so I was encouraged to do it. Sometimes those outside activities, big or small, they make you realize things in yourself that might be a barrier that you never realized. So getting candid feedback from people that you just met over the last week, it really can hit home sometimes. And I think that it helped me understand how to put all of the connections together and be really confident in myself on my journey overall. And then sometimes, you're gonna fall, you're gonna trip, you're gonna make mistakes, but how you get back up and how you learn from those things, I think that's what makes you a great leader.
So what advice would you have for team members that are watching you today and who want to grow in the organization, who just don't know where to start? What would you tell them?
I would say, raise your hand, communicate, let everybody know what you want to do, how far you want to take your career, what you think you possess, the qualities that you possess that you really want to plus out, and because you feel like not only is it going to be great for your own career, but it's going to be great for the organization to have somebody that's continuing to build their career and do more here. I think being part of an organization that believes in developing from within, we want you to raise your hand. We want you to say, hey, I want to do more. So I think that's really important. Make sure that you have your voice heard, make sure you raise your hand, and make sure people know what you really want to do. I would also say that I think it's important that you continuously develop yourself. Right? Because it's great to be surrounded by people that want to help nurture you and grow you in certain ways, but how much you want to develop yourself is extremely important. So I'm a big believer that there's always a good book to read, there's a good course to take, there's a great podcast to listen to, and it's all just helpful information to have along the way and tools in your toolbox.
Lori, thank you so much for taking the time today to share your journey with the rest of the organization. I think it's super inspiring, but it also shows that it can be done, right? That while there's only one Lori Deanna, the story, there's multiple stories across the organization that have similar themes and undertones. This is just such a great organization with so much to give. So thank you.
I agree. Well, thank you for the time today. It's always great to get in front of the organization and talk about these opportunities, because you're right, my husband would be he wants everybody to know there's probably only one Lori Deanna, thank God. But there's so many opportunities within this growth organization. We are believers of developing from within. And so raise your hand, ask questions, be focused on our mission, vision, values, and helping patients get the care they need today. And if that's who you are and you want to be part of a YES organization, this is the place for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Over the next few months, we'll be sharing a series of videos introducing some amazing hand raisers across the organization. Former dental assistants to start with, who've made major strides towards building the careers they truly want. So keep an eye out for those. Remember, reach out to your leadership, send an email, give them a call, set up a meeting. You have a voice and a great opportunity to grow and guide your own journey. And feel free to contact me personally if you don't get a response. Whatever you do, raise your hand.